Can you believe we have now done 10 of these Back the Blue tour stops? Good morning. Happy Friday. Glad you're here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. We are now in North Kansas City as we get another Back the Blue tour stop underway this morning. You are going to hear some outstanding conversations throughout the day, including in about 30 minutes, we are going to hear from North Kansas City Police Chief Kevin Freeman to kick off those conversations. So you probably recall the story unless you're new to town, but we are approaching the 3-year anniversary of the deadly shooting of North Kansas City police officer Daniel Vasquez. This was, of course, in the midst of a 2-year run where law enforcement was getting absolutely dumped on, for lack of a better phrase, by not just too many across the country politically, but also you had that push in media, on social media, and it was frankly an awful 24-month window that sadly still continues today in certain parts of the country. I think it's lessened here in Kansas City and around Kansas City, but it's certainly still not where it needs to be. So we kicked off the Back the Blue tour, I guess that would have been late 22, early 23, give or take. And we've gone to a different police department about every quarter for the last couple of years. And now we are in North Kansas City as we approach that 3-year anniversary. It was July 19th of 2022 that Daniel Vasquez pulled over a driver at 21st and Clay for expired tags. And then he was, of course, allegedly, we'll still use that word because there is a trial that is ongoing, by an individual during that traffic stop. A manhunt followed, and that led to the arrest of this individual who is currently getting set to go on trial. The death penalty is what the Clay County prosecutor is seeking in this case, and this was the first time in 30 years when it came down that a death penalty case was being sought in Clay County. So we are approaching that 3-year mark of the death of Daniel Vasquez. And when you walk in to the North Kansas City Police Department, there is a memorial on behalf of Officer Vasquez that stands out right when you walk in to the left as you come into the North Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. So still that legacy obviously will live on up here, as it should, for a very long time. And a reminder on some of the routine situations that law enforcement find themselves in that, let's be honest, does not always end up routine. It's sometimes the most routine things that end up being the most deadly. You know, we have obviously 3 little girls, and I guess it was 2 weekends ago, the middle one decided she didn't want to buckle her seatbelt. Because, of course, right? So I said to her, hey, you better buckle that seatbelt. If not, the cops are going to pull us over. And that led to a whole conversation, mostly with the oldest one, who's 6.5 now, on what happens when a cop pulls you over. And I probably went into too much detail for a 6-year-old because I looked back and her eyes were bugging out on me. But the point was this. You teach this stuff to your kids at a young age. That, you know what, when you get pulled over, you just do what you're asked to do, within reason, of course, right? I mean, we all know that there are bad cops and dirty cops, but we also know that they are a very small percentage of the 750 men and women in law enforcement who are around the country. But you do what you're asked, you hands on the steering wheel, the whole thing, let the cops see them. That way there's no concern as to what might be going on here. And you find yourself in a relatively easy situation within reason. And it's that stuff, that basic stuff, that we seem to have, unfortunately, lost sight of societally in this country. So as I was coming up here from the Kansas side of the state line, you heard Wendy there on the traffic report note that there is a major accident as you are just about to get on the Kit Bond Bridge before Front Street that you definitely want to avoid. I got caught in that coming up, so I ended up getting back on the 35 to try to weave my way through my old stomping grounds there downtown and get over the Heart of America Bridge. And I'll tell you what, I used to live down at 6th and Broadway, and I ended up getting off, driving through downtown, and then I kind of forgot which way was one way, which way was two ways, so I was trying to figure out my way around downtown. But I weaved through River Market, came back through downtown, got on the Heart of America Bridge to come up to North Kansas City from the west side versus the east side because of the accident over there. And I don't say this with any joy, but I hadn't driven through that part of downtown in a while. I mean, it had probably been a year-ish. I mean, I've been downtown plenty, but just through like that part of downtown right before you go over to River Market. And the for sale signs, the for lease signs, the boarded up windows. I mean, I just honestly, and I'm not saying this to rag on anybody in particular, but when you think about the future of this town and you think about things like where are the Royals going to play baseball, where do they want to be, where do you want to invest for the next 10, 20, 30 years. I just thought for a place that has incredibly old, beautiful brick buildings and so much history, there was too much around there as I'm driving around that just looked worn down, didn't look good at all. It looked like crap. And frankly, as I'm looking at this, I'm saying to myself, you want to invest $1-2 billion right now. Do you want to do it? I know that if you go to River Market, you got brand new apartment complexes. You got the current stadium down the river. Like, I get it. There are places where developers are doing well. But you have some of the most gorgeous old buildings in that part of downtown, and they're, in too many cases, they look dilapidated. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. And the developer class, I'll never understand for the life of me. I mean, these guys want to build these new buildings with these paper-thin cardboard walls that have no structure and no character to them, while you've got these big, beautiful 100, 150-year-old buildings that are just sitting there empty. Like, I'm sure there's an economic reason for it. I guarantee you there is. They're not dumb people. But it just doesn't make the city look good to have these old, beautiful brick buildings boarded up. No one's in them. No one's interested in them, while they build up basically the River Market side with these new shoebox apartments that they're putting everywhere. Maybe I'm alone in that, but I genuinely do not understand it. But we are looking forward to having a great show with you today here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. You can stream us all morning long on a Friday on the KCMO Talk Radio app. We will have and kick off the show with the police chief in North Kansas City, Kevin Freeman, in about 20 minutes. But coming up, we did tell you about this, I guess it was 9 hours before the news broke. We started off the show yesterday, and we said that Kansas is going to extend the Star Bonds. And at about, 3 p.m. yesterday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what happened? You got an announcement from the Kansas legislature that they will extend the Star Bond offer to the Kansas City Chiefs to try to lure them to Kansas for another 12 months. We also told you here first on KCMO that the only option was to extend it for 12 months. They can't technically extend it for 30 days. Now, they can put a deadline on this internally and say, listen, we're not taking you seriously after 30, 60, 90, 120 days, whatever it might be. But we got it here first. And there were many in media, well, a couple people in media who I like, who were like, hey, where'd you hear that information? I said, me. That's where I heard it. Okay? It was from me. And they were doubting it, and they weren't sure whether or not our sources were going to be any good. And then, of course, some actually asked, so who's your source? I'm like, are you guys nuts? What do you think I'm doing here? Running a two-bit operation? I'm not telling you who told me that, but I felt good about the source. So we got it yesterday morning. We started off the show with that at 6:05, and in the middle of the afternoon, the rest of the media in Kansas City had it. So now we know that that song and dance is going to continue. Unfortunately, I know some of you are really, and I'm bummed out by this too. I mean, we want this thing wrapped up. But the teams are getting their wish. They will be allowed to pit Missouri against Kansas for a while longer. I don't want to say a little bit longer, a while longer. They'll be able to pull this off. But there was something interesting in a letter that was released by the legislature that they received from Chiefs President Mark Donovan. And it's something that we probably haven't thought enough about in this entire saga. And we'll tell you what that is coming up on 95.7 FM KCMO and streaming all morning long on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Well, you got it here on KCMO 9 hours before you got it anywhere else, and that is the fact that the Star Bond offer on the Kansas side of the state line will be extended one more year. And I am just thinking about that meme from Trump's first inauguration where that young lady is in that bright green vest or jacket and is like, no! And that's exactly what I know all of Kansas and Missouri was saying yesterday when this news became official. But you have a letter that was shared yesterday by Mark Donovan, the president of the Kansas City Chiefs, that was sent to Ty Masterson, who is the Senate president, requesting the extension of the Professional Sports Star Bond program. This is, of course, the tool that the state of Kansas is using to try to lure the Chiefs and the Royals to the state of Kansas away from the state of Missouri. Now, you look at the letter that was put out here by Mark Donovan, and a couple things stood out to me that maybe we haven't talked enough about. Mark Donovan puts in this letter here that for us, we're looking at, of course, a world-class domed stadium, new team headquarters, a state-of-the-art practice facility, and a vibrant mixed-use and entertainment district. So we've talked a lot about a dome stadium. Now, we know that these teams want to build around and they want to make monies outside of game days and concerts and things like that. But we didn't probably talk enough in recent weeks and months about the possibility of there being a practice facility involved in this entire project. And what exactly that looks like when it comes to not a lot of revenue necessarily attached to it to pay off the Star Bonds, but it is another layer to the project that is probably very compelling to the Kansas City Chiefs to start over when it comes to practice facilities, also include mixed use, and add in your new team headquarters, and then also a dome stadium. What does that also do, though? That jacks up your cost tremendously. If we're talking about domed stadiums now running $3 to $4 billion, and Mark Donovan lays out a plan here that includes a world-class domed stadium, team headquarters, practice facility, and a vibrant mixed-use and entertainment district, what are we running here? $6 billion? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking the question. And then if they're looking at a Star Bond district to pay up to 70% of the cost of these new builds, we're looking at what, $4 billion in bonds involved in this whole thing? Maybe more? $5 billion in bonds for this entire project? And let's be clear, the practice facility and the team headquarters, they don't really generate any revenue. They're just kind of businesses that are there, right? But they're not bringing in outside business or outside revenue sources. It's just pieces or people that show up to places to go to work. So you then have to generate so much revenue off that stadium, off the mixed use and entertainment district, and off of whatever other businesses you include in that Star Bond district to pay this thing off. I mean, that is a big, big nut that's being asked here potentially from the state of Kansas if they do all of those things on the Kansas side of the state line. And it makes total sense. Like, I don't see a world where the Chiefs go to Kansas for their new stadium and then they leave their practice facility and their headquarters in the old spot. Like, that's obviously not going to happen. But it does add to their total cost. And that is something that probably has not been given enough attention here as we've talked about it in recent weeks, John.
I'm wondering if we could just get a regular entertainment district. Maybe Vibrant's a little high. Like the gas pump, you got regular and premium. And if we just got a regular one, can we knock off a bill?
Can we use the word supreme? Can we start using that one to describe?
I'll just take a standard entertainment district, right?
You want standard. Does that mean they only serve Bud Light, Coors Light, and Mick Ultra? Is that what it means if it's standard?
Whatever it means. Anything that'll knock a little bit of money off. If we can go from Vibrant to standard, I'm good.
Yeah, knock off $200 million in total cost on the project maybe, right? That's great.
They can get a sponsorship too, though.
You want to sponsor it, Mark? You want to go do your parlay picks up there on a Friday morning?
I mean, if they can put any sort of, name on it.
Mark's parlay pick of the week brought to you by the Vibrant Entertainment District in KCK. Is that what you want to do? Gosh.
Sounds
all right.
fun.
we're helping out the sales department here. It's not even 6:30 on a Friday morning. Nice job there, guys. That's well done. So it's like, what are they going to do? What's the deadline? Here's what concerns me. What concerns me for the taxpayers on both sides of the state line here is that what the Chiefs may be doing is buying time, trying to figure out, can they actually do anything and accomplish anything with Frank White? Can they actually get something on a ballot in Jackson County, whether it's in November, which their deadline to do that is August, or if they have to wait till next spring, what does that look like? And I think it's also partially contingent on where the Royals want to go and what the Royals need based on where they want to go. I mean, we're sitting here in North Kansas City this morning doing the show, driving right by where theoretically a North Kansas City ballpark would be. But if it's downtown, if it's Washington Square Park, are the Royals going to say, oh, we need to be on a Jackson County ballot too? We want to try, once again, to be in a ballot for Jackson County voters on that 3/8 cent sales tax. I think the Chiefs are done with them. I think it makes sense for the Chiefs to be done with them. But if the Royals are insistent that they go downtown, then the Chiefs might also be looking at this and saying, fine, we're just going to make it work in Kansas because we want to be done with you guys. I do believe that there is some of that going on here as well that we'll be obviously watching closely in the weeks to come. O'Reilly's going to be on the show coming up on Monday at 8 o'clock. So if you're an O'Reilly fan and based on our ratings, many of you are, we would love for you to make sure you're here on Monday, 8 o'clock. Bill O'Reilly will be joining us on 95.7 FM KCMO. Now, speaking of, the Fox family, where O'Reilly obviously spent 25 years, I love looking at the text line and just kind of catching up in the morning when I'm on the text line and seeing what some of you texted yesterday and the night before. I guess somebody texted in at 3 o'clock yesterday, and they were watching Will Cain's show on Fox News, which is doing very well. And Will Cain does a radio show here, and that airs at 9 p.m. on KCMO after Bill O'Reilly. And both those shows at night do very well, too. So if you're not listening to them, please do check those out in the evenings. So somebody texted us yesterday and said on the text line here, Will, your wedding ring isn't on. I hope everything's okay. It says, Will, why are you not wearing your wedding ring today? Tell me, your finger is swollen, and it's nothing bad. And this text came from Florida. It's a 772 area code. So I'm looking this up. I'm like, okay, it's not 913. It's not an 816. It's not a 573. It's not a 785. I'm like, 772? That's like Vero Beach, Florida. It's on the east coast of Florida. That somebody somehow got a hold of the KCMO Talk Radio text line and was concerned that Will Cain was not wearing his wedding ring yesterday on Fox. Here's the thing. Will's down in Dallas. He's doing his show from there. That's where he lives. And my guess is he's got a home studio, and he probably left his wedding ring on his nightstand, and he had like 30 seconds to go to air, and he's like, screw it. It's okay. I'm thinking that as of this morning, Will Cain is still married. That's my hope, at least. But I love the passion that some fans have. And I'll tell you what. I mean, listen, I don't wear watches. Not a watch guy. I had somebody once say to me, the status of a man is based on his watch. I said, great. Well, I'll never have any status in this country because I'm not a watch guy. I don't care. All right. Anyone under the age of 40 doesn't wear a watch for time.
Boomer here representing, don't wear.
Oh, that's right. You're not a watch guy either, John.
I've gotten them from time to time, and I wear them as a gift, and eventually somehow something will happen to it, and I don't replace it.
Yeah, I don't like having things on my wrists or my fingers or my hands. I just don't like it. Even the wedding ring, having been married now 11 years, I'm used to that. I kind of feel naked without it, but I don't wear it to bed. I take it off every night. I want nothing on, well, not nothing on me. I want nothing jewelry-wise on me when I'm sleeping. I don't like the feeling. So, I'm not, still all these years later, totally comfortable with having anything on my fingers, my wrists, anything like that. Not my thing. But I know there's a lot of guys who just, you know what, like me, you take it off at night, and sometimes if you're in a rush in the morning, you forget it. But that never happens to me because now if I'm at work, if I'm doing the show, and I don't have it on, it feels weird. I feel naked without it during the day. But at night, I still, frankly, just don't want to wear it. I have zero interest in wearing it. Do you guys take it off at night or no?
I keep it on.
You keep it on? Oh, okay. All right. Then I'm in the outlier. How about you, Castro? Take it off? All right. I like your ring you got there, too. He lost so many. He's got one of those plastic rings. That's only for, like, cops. Cops are allowed to wear those because they're on the job. You can't be wearing those, man. You got to have a real ring. Oh, okay. All right. We're talking to our engineer, guru extraordinaire, Chris Castro here, who's with me in North Kansas City for our Back the Blue tour stop number 10, as we are excited to be here, of course, and tell the stories of the men and women of the North Kansas City Police Department. They are up against the 3-year anniversary of the loss of Officer Vasquez. He is, of course, someone who was killed in a traffic stop 3 years ago, July 19th of 2022. Vasquez was pulling over a driver near 21st and Clay for expired tags. As routine as it gets, right? And he gets shot and killed, allegedly, by the man in the car. The Clay County prosecutors are seeking the death penalty in this case, which is the first time in 30 years that a death penalty case has been sought in Clay County. So you know how seriously they are taking that, obviously, up here in the Northland. But there is a big memorial to Officer Vasquez that you see right as you walk in the front door here at North Kansas City, and it is clear, as is well-deserved, his memory is alive and well because he is the first North Kansas City police officer to have been lost in the line of duty. And we are happy to be here on a Friday morning on KCMO. Of course, the big news that the rest of Kansas City media was about 9 hours behind on yesterday was the fact that the Star Bonds did get extended on the Kansas side of the state line in an announcement that came down from the legislature at about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon is when this became official. And what I thought was interesting yesterday is that it was announced by the Senate President Ty Masterson that the Legislative Coordinating Council would be meeting on July 7th. And that meeting would extend the Star Bonds retroactively to July 1 for another 12 months. Now, we told you at 6:05 yesterday morning, right when we started the show, that this was going to happen. But what also was compelling here is that they shared a letter that Mark Donovan sent to the legislature asking for this extension. And I think the reason that happened is because deep down, whether they will admit it publicly or not, the people in charge of this decision on the Kansas side, and it's a combination of Republicans and Democrats in the House and the Senate. It's not just one party. It's not just one person. It's a conglomerate of Republicans and Democrats. They know deep down this isn't popular. And by not popular, I mean extending the offer for another 12 months because people are done with it. They're sick of it. They're tired of it. They don't want to. They just want to know what's going on here. I think they're sick of the teams feeling like they're basically fleecing both sides a little bit here, and they're digging under cushions for pennies and nickels and dimes as multi-billion-dollar franchises. I think they're sick of the states playing ball, no pun intended, too much at a time when their taxes keep going up and they feel like they're getting screwed, whether it's Jackson County property owners or, frankly, on the Kansas side. I mean, gosh, your property taxes in Johnson and Wyandotte haven't exactly leveled off the last few years. They've skyrocketed, too. So there's that element of this that the politicians understand. Makes this, in large part, fairly unpopular. But it's the game that is played with these sports franchises. But the letter from Mark Donovan that was sent to the Kansas lawmakers, specifically Masterson, was shared to basically say to Kansans, there's a reason we're doing this. And the letter from Mark Donovan makes it clear that they are exploring Kansas not just for a domed stadium, but also, as they write here, for a new team headquarters, a state-of-the-art practice facility, and a vibrant mixed-use and entertainment district. So I think the importance of sharing the letter which I'm sure Masterson got approval from Donovan on, was to say this gives me some more political capital and some more political equity. And he's right. Masterson is right to feel that way. I mean, having a letter with the Chiefs logo and letterhead at the top signed by Mark Donovan is a very smart political move. Instead of just extending it and being like, yeah, we got a shot, let's see what happens. This could be fun. It's like, no, I got a letter here from the team president saying that they're still looking at Kansas. Now, of course, I understand many of you on the text line are noting this right now. Well, hang on. They've had a year to consider Kansas. If Donovan loved Kansas so much, what the heck is taking these guys so long? If they just think Kansas out by the Legends is a can't-miss opportunity and they've got to get out there and they've got to be in Kansas, well, you've had 12 months to decide on this. So what is taking so freaking long? That is a fair question to ask. And I think the answer is simply this. They didn't know what Missouri was going to come to the table with. There are risks associated with Kansas that we've talked about ad nauseum with the Star Bonds. So they're like, all right, we now have an offer on the Missouri side. We've got something to work with on the Kansas side we've known about. But now we have to figure out where exactly we want to be. What I hope they do not do is drag this thing to the point where they wait to see whether or not they can get a vote on the local level somewhere on the Missouri side, likely Jackson County, before they then make their decision. If at any point in time the Chiefs say, we want to be on the ballot, let's say in November, which their deadline for that would be August, and then you end up in a situation where you're Kansas and you're seeing that the Chiefs want to go ahead with a vote on the Missouri side, that's when you got to pull the plug. And as I understand it, as much as the Star Bond deal is on the table now for another 12 months, this legislative council can basically say, hey, you're giving us something by July 31, August 31, September 30th. You're giving us something in the next 90 days, or we're basically not going to consider whatever it is that you've got. They can do that. It's not written in stone like that, but they can basically say to the teams, listen, we gave you a 12-month extension because that's our only option here. They didn't have a 30-day extension offer up. They only had a full 12-month offer to extend based on how the law is written. So they had to go 12 months. But they can say here, listen, guys, stop screwing around, okay? And I hope like heck that at some point, if it becomes evident that that's what's going on here, they've got the backbone to say enough's enough. We are thrilled to be in North Kansas City today for our Back the Blue tour stop number 10. And, I thought it was fascinating something that's the patrol chief, Dan Justice, just said here on the show about North Kansas City. And it's something we've talked about a lot when it comes to issues in Kansas City. The free bus service is an utter failure. The idea stinks. And it's only been around for a few years, but the reason it came to be was, of course, in the wake of 2020, super progressive politics that have utterly failed basically everywhere they've been tried. There was this thought of we need free buses in Kansas City. Now, why did that idea come to fruition? The idea came to fruition largely because Kansas City was in a weird place. They had this streetcar downtown. They should have been charging for the streetcar, but there's really no way to charge for a streetcar, right? If you've been down there and you've ridden the streetcar, there's no way to start charging for it. Mm-hmm. There's no turnstile. There's no person checking any tickets. That would add to the cost. So there's no way to charge for it. But when you look at how the system operates, no one would ride that thing if it wasn't free.
Exactly. I mean, I would pay if it went somewhere I was going. It goes in a straight line.
It goes in a straight line. It's so antiquated. Oh, but I get the optics, which is, hey, you've got, people coming in from Johnson County and folks downtown riding a free streetcar, and you got working poor folks paying for a bus. Yeah, the optics of that stink. Of course, you could just charge for the streetcar, but then once again, you'd have a problem. Nobody would ride it. And they wouldn't be able to goose these numbers of thousands of people every day are loving the streetcar. So they make the buses free. And then what do you get? You get people riding buses. You have crime increasing on the buses. You have people getting dumped off all over, the metro because they're riding free buses. And the other thing that stood out to me is that a lot of folks who are homeless do not want help. The idea that you just build a bunch of, housing and we're just a roof over the head from getting these people back on track. No, there are severe mental health issues that need to be addressed. It's never as simple as some of these uber progressive politicians want to turn it into. But they try their best because I guess it's good for their political careers, sad to say. We got 3 more guests that you are going to hear from in the 9 o'clock hour in North Kansas City, where we are here for our 10th Back the Blue tour stop. And we've got Kobach, Chris Kobach, the Attorney General for the state of Kansas, coming up in just over 10 minutes because he wants the U.S. Department of Education to investigate 4 school districts in Kansas, including 3 in the Kansas City area. So we will have Kobach on to talk about that in about 10 minutes here on KCMO. But on a Friday, I had to share this story with you. I stumbled upon it online in the last day or so, and it was a bride and a groom going viral because they played rocks, paper, scissors to figure out whose last name they were going to take. I kid you not. They filmed it. They posted this to Instagram. It obviously racked up millions and millions of views. And it was a high-stakes rock, paper, scissors game that they played to decide who would get the last name for the family, John.
Wow. High stakes indeed. Now, if they were serious, they would have gone with the Big Bang Theory. It's rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. So you added a couple more levels to it. Wow.
Well, they should have done that.
High stakes indeed.
At least the groom should have done it because he lost the rocks, papers, scissors game. And so they did a best of 3.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
They do a best of 3, and the groom, whose surname Pierce, won the first round. And everyone's like, ooh, he's going to get his way. This is great. However, his fiance, surnamed Hunter, evened it out in the second round. So that came down to a do-or-die game 3, so to speak, tiebreaker match between the bride and the groom to see whose last name.
What is your play on that?
You know what, man? That is a great question. If I'm do or die on my last name surviving, you know what I'm doing? I'm going rocks.
I think so.
I'm going with the rock. Of course, my name is Pete, which is rock, so I've got to go hard in on the rock. I'm going to lean into that, and I'm you know what? I'm going all in on the rock in that spot. I can't go scissor, never been a scissor guy. Paper, hit or miss, I'm sticking with the rock.
And remember, lizard kills Spock, so can't go that way.
Here's the thing, too. You got to think about this. What is your opponent going to do here?
Well, it's
right?
like taking the middle X and the tic-tac-toe thing.
Yes, exactly.
Well, now I know what you're not playing when I play you next, Pete.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, when we're passing time during commercial breaks and we're betting on rock, paper, scissors. So she ends up winning the third match, the tiebreaker. So they are going with her last name, Hunter, to become the official family name.
And down to the DMV he goes to get a new real ID.
Yeah. You know what, though? If you're this guy's father, I mean, boy, what are you saying to yourself right now? Your son elects to play rock, paper, scissors to potentially lose his last name and lose your family lineage and heritage because you decided to play rock, paper, scissors? I mean, I'm sorry. Like, why are you getting engaged? If your fiance insists on a rock, paper, scissors game to end up deciding which last name you guys were going to pick. That's just, I mean, there's so much about it that is bothersome. But it's so funny because 2 days ago, I don't know how it came up at our dinner table, But our oldest, Claire, 6 years old, she asked, and there must have been something that triggered this, but she asked why Mom, meaning her mother, why Mom has my last name. And we just, said, hey, this is tradition. This is, what people do. This is how it goes. We didn't get deep in the weeds on it, although she probably had like 7 follow-up questions that we didn't know how to answer at the time. But we just said, hey, it's part of tradition. It's kind of, what you do in the whole thing. And then I literally see this story yesterday, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. What are the odds of this, that the night after we're sitting around the dinner table, and she's asking us about Mom taking Dad's last name. I see this guy lose his last name because he lost a freaking rock, paper, scissors match to his fiance. And thank goodness my kids can't read yet, and they will never see this story unless, of course, they're listening right now, in which case I am screwed because they won't forget it for 20-plus years, John.
Yep. And what if it was a curse on the dad? He's had 5 kids, 4 daughters, and that one son. Boop, there goes the lineage, just like you said.
Yeah, he literally has his son. He's like, woo, all right, I got one at least. I got a shot. There's a chance. And then he finds out his kid's a total soy boy, and he's giving up his last name in a rocks, paper, scissor match. I mean, man, you might as well just disown him anyway. What's the point in keeping him around the family?
That dude doesn't get the family Bible, that's for sure.
There you go. Yep.
No family Bible for you, young man. That's exactly right. Oh, my goodness. People will do anything for a viral Instagram. I'll tell you that right now, including switching his own last name. Gosh. And how do you, when your fiance, because there's no way this was his idea, right? There's just no way. If there is, we've got a whole nother set of problems here. But if your fiance comes to you and says, hey, can we do a rocks, paper, scissors for last name rights in this household? Like, what do you say? Well, first off, you say no. But then it's like, where do you even get that idea? The conversation, there's just so much to it that I find beyond bothersome. The text line is 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO. On the text line, what was the mom's maiden name? It was Hunter.
Yeah.
Hunter was her surname.
Now, the advantage is he gets to move up in line alphabetically.
Yeah.
But
the kids
who
are
lines
better
up
off.
alphabetically anymore, right?
Oh, that's an excellent point.